Good morning / almost good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vince Greer. I serve as our Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students. Quite the reception. Been in the role a little over 4 months now, but very much been a part of the Claremont community even before that at one of our other institutions. But really want to welcome you all today to an opportunity to learn a little bit more about our student affairs and how we go about doing things. And so our first year support systems, you're going to hear a wide range of our colleagues that are going to talk about different factions within student affairs and the co-curricular experience. So with that being said, I'll turn it over and have each person introduce themselves. Also, really quickly, I use he, him pronouns as well, too. So pass it over to Connie.
Good morning. My name is Connie Helland. I'm the academic coach. I work individually with our students. I'm pretty embedded in the 5 C's and been with 3 different schools in some form or another, but I love Pitzer.
Excellent. Hi, everyone. My name is Kirsten Carrier. I'm one of our Associate Deans of Students and the Director of Residence Life and Conference Services. I use she, her pronouns. Been at Pitzer for almost 10 years now, but I'm from Wisconsin. Anyone from the Midwest? Midwest. That's right. Thank you. All right, good, yes. And you'll hear from me now about Res Halls, but also my staff's out at the resource fair, so any detailed questions about Res Life, please find us here or there. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lexi Lai. I'm the Associate Director for Campus Life, so I oversee orientation and get to plan some pretty fun events throughout the school year. I am in maybe like my 7th month at Pitzer. Love it. And I'm from Hawaii. Anybody? Really? Yay!
My name is it on? I think so. Dr. Miriam Merrill, and I am the Director of Athletics. So I have been here a year and a half. I always forget because I started during the pandemic. Who does that? I do. But for those who may not know, our athletics department actually is made up of students from both Pitzer College and Pomona College. So I'm really proud to be connected to Pitzer College in this way and look forward to talking to you a little bit about our athletics programs.
Awesome. So you've already heard from our esteemed colleagues, my esteemed colleagues, I should say, and you're going to get so much awesome information about, again, so many different resources. To Kirsten's point as well, even for more of those details and questions, we're going to have some time afterwards as well for folks that want to learn a little bit more. So just to get us started, a little bit about student affairs. Really, it's all centered around our mission and core values. And this is a thing that you'll see across at Pitzer College. This is sort of our foundation in so many ways. And we're really focused on providing student-centered support and really sort of engaging in a co-curricular experience. One of the things I also like to mention is one of the uniqueness about Pitzer is our shared governance system. And so very much while we'll focus on the co-curricular experience, it's really important to understand that it's very much integrated with our esteemed colleagues and our faculty. And so you all have already had a little bit of time to hear a little bit about our academic affairs and some of the resources on that front. We're literally in the same building in Scott Hall, so oftentimes our Dean of Faculty's office is walking down the hall and vice versa, and we're conversing how we can best support students. And really a big part of it also is our commitment to student development. So this is one where we want to really walk alongside our students. We're not really much about holding hands. We really want to create student leaders that are going to go on and thrive and really be able to sort of become those impactful leaders that we are helping to cultivate along the way. And so we're really invested in their entire person, not just one aspect, but truly across the board. So oftentimes when we're meeting with students, we want to make sure to see how their well-being, how they're doing academically, really, truly, socially across the board. Some of the things I really want us to sort of pay attention to, and these are the things we're going to dive in, is very text heavy, I will warn, but just to sort of bring some graphics to life. And I'll talk a little bit about the Dean of Students section. Of course, everyone else will hit at those other key areas as well. We'll talk a little bit about on-call and our after-hour structure. This is a critical one. There is never a time of day throughout literally 365 days of the year where a student can contact and have support. So whether that's the summer, during our breaks, any of those sort of things, whether it's for emergency or just if they need to have a important inquiry that can't wait to, over the weekend, for instance, or after hours, we can always access an OSA staff for that. Emergency fund, I'll dive a little bit deeper on that in a little bit, but certainly there are times where our students must access the necessary supports. Maybe something has come up, or financially they're in a difficult spot. And we do have a portion of our discretionary funds carved out to make sure that we're supporting our students in the appropriate ways in those moments. The not so fun stuff. So when I think about student conduct, it's never enjoyable conversations, but at the same time, they're necessary. And this is really an important part of our student development process as well, too. So in those moments, when a student isn't at their best, we do have to address those issues on an appropriate basis. But I'll dive in a little bit more about our philosophy in some time. Campus. So this is our Center for Asian Pacific Pacific American students, pardon me. And this is really an opportunity for one of our most enriched centers that really talk about issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion, not only for our PETA student population, but really sort of bridging those gaps as well, depending programmatically on the topic of focus. Our Green Bike program, so if you all have had a chance to walk the campus, which I'm sure you all have, you've probably seen an influx of awesome bikes. We really try to put a focus on sustainability. And our Green Bike program is one where students can access free of charge over the portion or over the course of a semester. Our Sage Hand Shuttle, we do have an additional part of our campus, CCA, our Claremont Collegiate Apartments, which is probably a couple of blocks away from campus. We have an awesome shuttle that will transport our students back and forth over. And then just overall, our one-stop student support center. So there's never one issue that we're not aware of, probably a little bit more than we should. And that's funneled not only through students and peers, but of course our faculty as well, other staff in addition to. And we really want to make sure that we're supporting students. So if they're having any sort of mental health needs, financial needs, as I've mentioned earlier, or any other sort of range of issues that come up at any given time, certainly in the COVID period that we're in this era, at any point in time, we want to make sure that we're able to support students on an as-needed basis. So that's a quick overview when we're talking about our Dean of Students office and some of those focus. However, there's a lot more that I want to make sure that we spend a lot of our time on. So I'll have the rest of my colleagues really just sort of go around and talk a little bit about that. Awesome. Sorry. Actually, before I do that, pardon me. One more portion. I do want to spend a little bit more time on our I'd be remiss for us not to acknowledge COVID-19 and where we are right now as a community. And one of the things I really want to sort of talk about with that is the importance of how our students have really come together to be equally invested in keeping our community healthy and safe. So our students, in many ways, have led the charge to make sure that they're able to have as much of a normal experience as you can. We certainly have had to modify that at portions of the academic year, given some of the spikes or surges that sort of come and go. But overwhelmingly, our students have held hands to make sure that they're vaccinated. Our entire student population is currently 100% vaccinated. It's not a guarantee. I'm certainly that you can talk to other colleges, and that's not necessarily the case. Over 96% of our students, for instance, are boosted. And we do recognize that there are going to be those one-offs, and we try to be as reasonable as possible, given that there may be religious exemptions, for instance, and those sort of things. But the reality is our entire community is banded together to do this. We also require that our students are testing on a weekly basis. And we're tracking those things to make sure that everyone is maintaining and keeping the community safe, not only in the classroom, but outside of the classroom. And in those moments when inevitably some folks will, be positive with COVID, we really try our best to be as detailed as possible in partnering with our student health services for contact tracing so that we can remedy the issue as quick as possible and try to slow any sort of curves that may occur. A huge shout out, I would say, to Residence Life and Housing for really sort of taking charge in terms of our isolation and quarantine. So at a moment's notice, once we're alerted that a student is positive, we're quickly activating our systems to make sure that we get them the proper support support, but also make sure that we're able to isolate them for the necessary time to reduce any potential for spread. So this is just a lot of the many ways that, we're taking this serious. Right now, we're in a sort of challenging period where we want to make sure everyone is staying safe. But we are really optimistic for the last 3 or 4 weeks of the semester that if we can get through this patch, we can finish out with some sense of normalcy. So again, with that being said, I'll shoot it back over to our folks around in terms of academic support. So I'll toss it over to Connie at this time. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Connie Helland. I'm the academic coach, and I was in your seat not too many years ago. I have 2 daughters that both went to the Claremont colleges, and I saw things from a lot of different perspectives, and it informed my views, my evolving views of student affairs. And so I welcome you and want to give you a brief overview of how in student affairs we do academic support. We've got sort of a 4-pronged approach. We have access and disability support, which some of you may go, that doesn't apply to me, but sometimes things change. Someone gets sick briefly and you need accommodations for a little bit of time. You need us to kind of help shepherd you through a difficult time. And we are here for that. There's academic coaching, which is my area. I work with the entire student body. I do workshops. I work individually with students. When I came here originally, it was just for a really small segment, and PITZER, in its wisdom, saw that the entire student body could benefit from that. And I'll go into that a little bit more later. We have health and wellness, which is kind of a newer area for us. We have lots of programming and case management and support. We have a social worker on staff, and she has her clinical hours. And so she's just amazing. She's at one of the tables, and you are welcome to talk to her later today. And our staff, give you a picture. There we go. Gabriela Tempestoso is our Associate Dean and the Director of Disability Support Services. She would be your primary contact if you have a disability, be it physical, mental health challenges, learning disabilities. She'll shepherd you through that process. And she will be sort of your main contact if you need support for that throughout your years at PITZER. I'm the coach. Kristen Williams is our health and wellness facilitator. She does all kinds of amazing programs. She's a great person. Everyone loves her. Stephanie Hannett is our Assistant Dean of Mental Health and Wellbeing. She is kind of everywhere all the time, and sometimes people are not sure they need her, and she is there. She's was a former athlete. She's a great support for the athletic programs as well. Okay, so for access and disability support services, Gabriella will help your student go through their medical documentation that has to be provided in order for us to provide accommodations in a legal and fair way for your student. She coordinates with the faculty, helps them understand what their rights are, and helps faculty understand what their obligations are to our disabled community. We also have accommodations for housing, and that initially will go through her as well. For academic coaching, my pride and joy, I work on time management with students, which pretty much everybody can use help with. Lots of study and test-taking strategies, prioritizing which assignments to do first. That seems like that might not be such a big deal, but when you come here, everything's topsy-turvy, and everybody says their assignment is the most important thing you should be doing, and it's hard to know what's actually the most important thing I should be doing in this exact moment. And so teaching students those skills is really important, and I do that in lots of different ways. I work through Res Life, doing little workshops with the RAs and things like that, and just helping them understand how to get the most out of their classroom experience. And for our health and wellness and case management support, we have self-care workshops. which are great. They are a lot of fun. Students enjoy coming to them. Kristen teaches about the 8 dimensions of wellness and just helps students de-stress. They'll come to her and just be like, I'm having a hard day. And she will help them figure out some breathing exercises and just make sure they're taking care of themselves. For case management, Stephanie helps students find the support they need. Sometimes she can provide enough support here. Sometimes they need more, and she helps them decide what that next level of support would be, whether they need to loop in their parents, whether it's something they want to manage on their own. She provides resources and advocacy, crisis intervention, which we always hope is never going to happen, but she is there and very experienced if it's needed. And she provides mental health support right here on campus. Here are just a few of the things that the Health and Wellness segment did for us this spring. Our Strive to Thrive is the signature program that Stephanie developed. So during spring break, they did a wellness walk to the village and had frozen yogurt, lots of activities, art stuff, just trying to be there for support for students who were here and trying to make that feel like a fun time, even when, maybe some other people were off campus, maybe they were feeling lonely. We have a number of low-income students, which we try to support in every way possible. And one way is to connect them through CalFresh to make sure that they have all the food that they need. And then another Strive to Thrive program is Wellness Wednesday. So every Wednesday there's some sort of programming that's going on. Often in front of the dining hall, students can walk by, grab a little flyer or talk to Kristen and just kind of have a little bit of a, okay, I feel better now. I can make it through the rest of my day. So that is on to Res Life.
Thanks, Connie. Hi again, everyone. My name again is Kirsten Carrier, and I'm here to talk a little bit about residence life. I'll say these are some of the kind of big bucket areas that residence life encompasses. That's everything from housing processes, making sure students apply, choose roommates, get placed in bed spaces, and that entire process. Like Vince referred to earlier, safety is a #1 priority for us, especially in our students' living areas. So on-call student safety, making sure we're taking care of everyone. The co-curriculum, residential engagement, we want folks to live in an enriching environment. We want you to learn outside of the classroom. And so partnering with a lot of the folks up here and bringing that learning out of the classrooms, bringing it into the halls with your RAs, and really kind of engaging in that environment on campus, because this is one of the great reasons to live on campus for a few years of college, is so you can continue learning, 24 hours a day practically. They do sleep, I swear. Also student development. We hire a lot of student leaders in residence life, whether those are RAs or program assistants or folks that work at our front desk. And so definitely, an area that we would love to see your students invest in, as well as a lot of our areas that hire student employees from their first year all the way through their senior year. Today I am going to focus a little bit more on kind of the logistics of the residence halls, where we live and how we do it. Mostly because I understand that we aren't able to access the residence halls today, and you probably weren't able to get in there and see it alive, but hopefully you're walking around outside the halls and seeing our beautiful residence halls. We do have 4 main residential complexes, Pitzer, Atherton, and Sanborn, of course, the ones around the pool, so pretty. That right there is the money shot of the snowy mountains and the pool, gorgeous. So that's where all of our first year students live. It was built to house our entire first year class, so it is a first year living learning community with a lot of really intentional support systems and programs around that. After your first year, students will move on to one of the other 3 complexes that are for all of our upper class students. After first year, our students do and can apply to live off campus, and that's okay. We do have a good number of our students, about 40% of our seniors, 30% of our juniors, and 20% of our sophomores that start choosing to live off campus as early as their sophomore year. So I just want to make sure I acknowledge that that is something our students do as well. Our West, East, and Scandera halls just look very similar to our first year complex, built in 2012, Platinum LEED certified, all the things. It's a gorgeous building. Mead Hall is our most historic building on campus. No, not the most historic. It's just the oldest one of our residence halls, but it is beloved. It is our 8-person suites with a common living area. It is a living experience that a lot of folks are really excited about, living in community with that many people. And it has more single rooms than the other complexes. So yay, single rooms. And then last but not least, our Claremont Collegiate Apartments. We call that PITZER at CCA. That's a shared apartment complex that we have just north of campus. It's right next to Claremont Graduate University. So it is right next to campus, practically still, it's on Claremont College's properties right there. And we do have that shuttle that goes back and forth as well. But it is apartment style living. And as early as your sophomore year, if you want to cook for yourself, be on a lower meal plan, have a little bit more independence, we do have that style of living as well. So I do think it's a pretty good variety as students hopefully progress through their times. We don't want you living in the exact same double room, in this giant hallway for all 4 years. We hopefully want to help you grow and learn and have a different type of living experience each year. So by the time you hit your senior year, you've got enough independence to go out and figure out what's next as far as living goes. Here's kind of the map to orient us a little bit, but that's PITZER, Atherton, Sanborn right there around the pool, and you can see the other couple residential complexes right nearby. So it is kind of a nice neighborhood here on campus with PITZER at CCA just north of us. Here's the lovely shot of inside the residence halls. We do have a very comprehensive tour of the rooms of the complexes on our website, on our Instagram. Take a look. What's nice about our halls, at least, is that they're very new and they all look the same inside. It is two twin XL beds right next to each other in a double room. And you share a bathroom. They call it Jack and Jill style. I don't know, it's weird. But it's a shared bathroom with the double room next door to you. And so it's great that you get a little bit more of a living environment. You get 3 people you're going to get to know, but you only live with one person in your area. And you have private in-suite bathroom. That's not something you see a lot, especially in first-year halls. So that's pretty great. And that's also one of the reasons we're able to do gender-inclusive housing in our entire housing complexes. So we don't have single-gender floors. We don't tell students you have to live with folks of your same gender identity. Folks are allowed to kind of live with who you'd like to live with. And we do a lot of self-selection for roommates as well. A giant list of amenities, but our halls are full of lots of nooks and crannies, fun places to go, study rooms, affinity spaces, living rooms. There is a kitchen in each of the halls. There's laundry room facilities. When you come this fall, I'll teach you all about how to use the laundry and how to, load money in your Claremont cash and all the logistics that go with this. But rest assured, we've got them covered in terms of the living environment. We have a lot of meal plans to choose from as well. We do require a meal plan for those who live on campus. Our dining hall is excellent. It is better than the rest of the Claremont colleges, just saying. But you also usually get to eat at the other dining halls as well. So you can experience how much greater our dining hall is than everyone else's. So there's choice there as well, and you are able to change your meal plan each semester if you decide you want more or less based on your class schedule and how busy you are. I already went over some of these housing options this coming summer. Most of you will be completing a first-year housing application. Again, that's our standard double room you saw. We do have a housing accommodations process, as Connie talked about briefly. Folks who have documented disability accommodations or other medical or psychological needs can go through that accommodation process for a placement in a single room. And we do have some of those single rooms in our first-year living area. But as you saw, our campus is small. If you're next door in one of the upper-class living areas, you are right next door. You're not all the way on the other side of campus or anything like that. And then, like I said, the off-campus housing application is available as well. Even in your first year, folks maybe live with family close by. Those are the kind of exceptions that we sometimes see, although it is a requirement first year to at least live on campus. After that, off-campus is definitely something you can apply for each year. I get asked this a lot, which is kind of, when do I have to do something? And a lot of it's, hurry up and wait. So not until June do you actually have to apply for housing. Again, in your first year, because we require you to live on campus, you have a bed space on campus first years, yay. We are currently going through with our upper class students, getting them assigned to bed spaces, but we always reserve our first year hall for all of y'all. We do have an opportunity on step 2 of our process after you apply. We'll see who applied. We do allow even first-year students to choose your own roommates and or suite mates. And we have an online portal. You can look through people to see, are they like you? Are they the opposite of you? Kind of who do you want to live with? And you can match up if you'd like to. Again, not a requirement. You do not have to find your own roommate, but it's a process we can help facilitate. Or if you know someone because of these types of weekends and you've gotten to know folks and you think that would be a great match, go ahead. That we've looked over the couple of last years here, and in terms of success, we see equal success really between if you go in randomly and meet new people, or you choose your roommate, but you still have random suite mates maybe, so you get to meet some new people, or if you choose your entire suite. We have equal success. Folks are finding the support they need, and we do have, room change processes if things don't go well. This is just a lot of kind of guidance because the finding your own roommate was new for us just a couple years ago. We want to make sure you all are kind of thinking about what that looks like. Again, how you slept, how you studied in high school could be a little different than what you think college might be like. And when you get here, what you thought it would be like may be different than what it actually is, right? So having a lot of these really good conversations with folks you might want to be choosing to live with. For example, maybe you want someone who is compatible to live with, but you're not going to be best friends, and that could be really, really healthy. That way you have separate social circles that sometimes interact. You've got the de facto friend to take to meals together, but at the same time, you're not going to, blow up at each other necessarily because you are in, separate circles. So best friends, not friends at all, folks that just get along in the space. There are a lot of different ways that this works, but definitely an important conversation if you are thinking about choosing your own roommate. And again, that is not until July. So you've got a lot of time. June is just applying, and July in the middle of the summer, when everyone's paying attention to emails. But we will offer an opportunity for folks to have kind of a roommate social if you would like the opportunity to try to choose your own roommate. We'll have a few opportunities to log on to Zoom, meet some folks, go into breakout rooms, and meet folks that way. Or you can, again, use our platform to kind of shop around who's got similar sleeping styles, who's, really neat and tidy, whatever that might be, and then start a conversation with them via our software. And again, you don't have to do any of that. Just apply, and I'll place you with the roommate and suite mates according to your roommate matching profile. We do take a look at that, and we'll match folks up based on some top priorities. I would be remiss if I didn't say move-in day. It is coming up, in a few months. It's a ways away, I guess, yeah. But Saturday, August 20th is what we're looking at. We are going to be assigning folks individual move-in times. So we'll let you know what those are probably when we premiere the housing application process. Again, it's so we can stagger out the day so you're not, having 300 people move in all at the same time. So you would like us to stagger, and we're going to do that for you. And then first day of class is just, 9 days later there. I wanted to just put the faces out there. You're going to see Josh and Tasmia, who work in my office. Josh is my associate director. He knows everything about housing and accommodations and that process. And Tasmia is our first-year residence director. She lives with the first-year students. She works with them right now and has worked with them for almost 4 years now. And they are both out at our resource fair right now at the info table. So any questions at all about anything I said, they're going to be really great resources for you in your go-to. And that is residence life. And I'm going to hand it off to Lexi to talk about campus life.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, great. I'm going to talk a little bit about once you've moved in and you're getting ready to start classes, what happens. New student orientation includes several components that are pretty critical to your success while at Pitzer. I think one of our most signature, really monumentous things that is included in orientation is our orientation adventure program. So it's a 3-day trip that you go on with about 10 to 15 of your peers, led by an orientation leader. We have a variety of trips. We have backpacking, Catalina kayaking and camping, surfing. We have some LA trips, visiting some museums, and just really getting to know the new place that you are in Southern California. we hear from students every year that this is such an impactful time and important in their experience and meeting new friends, building that community before even classes get going. And so you'll find out more this summer, but really, it's a really special thing that Pitzer does. We also provide some academic preparation, so everything you need to know to get in order before classes start. So meeting your advisor, you'll meet some other peers that'll help walk you through the registration process. Placement tests, all of that is covered within the orientation experience. We also include some resource sessions and tours. So as a Pitzer student, you may be having classes over at Pomona or Scripps. So we'll be sure that you know where to go on that first day, have everything you need to really start making this place your own. And then, of course, social events. We want you to make friends beyond those you may be living with, those you may be on your orientation adventure trips with. We really want to make sure that we provide those opportunities to build connections in those first few days. So that's an overview of new student orientation. I'm going to go to the next one. And so our team, you will interact with a bunch of student leaders throughout your time at Pitzer. And one of the first ones you'll meet is your orientation leader. So these are the student leaders that will lead your OA trip. They'll be your point person throughout orientation. You'll have actually 3 to 4, which is really cool. And then they will hand things off to your academic guide. Your academic guide will be tied to your first year seminar course, which all first year students are required to take. And this is a writing intensive course around various topics that you'll get to choose. And your academic guide will walk with you through that first semester. And so I think this is another great thing that Pitzer offers. It's different getting some advice and support from staff and faculty, but really that peer-to-peer opportunity for learning and connection. We want to make sure that we provide that. So what to expect? So this summer, like Kirsten mentioned, June is kind of when we will gather all the information we need from you. So your preferences for your trip, your housing application, your first year seminar preferences, health forms. So once you get access to that, your Pitzer email, you'll want to be sure to be monitoring that, making sure that you get all of your information in. And then in July is when we'll start to notify you and place you in these various experiences. There's also an online component to orientation. So there's a couple modules that you'll have access to before you arrive. So some alcohol education, sexual assault awareness and prevention training, and then also some mental health courses that we want you to complete before arriving on campus. And then in August, we will build upon those things when you're here with us in person for our orientation. If you have any questions, you can email us or visit our website. These are our 2 student coordinators that will be working on orientation all summer long. We just hired our team, so we're really excited to get going with all of this. I'll leave it up for a second if you want to take a photo. Cool, okay. So beyond orientation, the Campus Life office also provides a number of different things throughout the school year. And so we have a number of events everything from like beach trips to movie nights to art nights, really, again, to help foster that community I'm sure you've heard so much about so far. So that's our goal, is to just provide spaces for you to meet each other and make some friends. We also support clubs and identity groups alongside Student Senate. And so Kirsten mentioned some affinity spaces within the res halls. So we help support and plan events, provide funding, all of that fun stuff. Another fun thing we do is if you just have an idea for an event you want to plan or throw for your friends, we can help with that. We help coordinate logistics, connect you to resources on campus, various offices. So we really want you to have a hand in your time here. And a couple other things we offer. The Gold Student Health and Wellness Center, I believe you all might have walked through or had another session in there earlier today, but we have a gym down there. There's Pilates classes, yoga classes that are offered, as well as they started doing some really cool workshops this year. And I think they'll continue to do so. Lots of good stuff. The gear closet, We rent out outdoor gear for students free of charge throughout the year. There's so many clubs and student groups that will coordinate trips, and we have everything you need for those outdoor trips. So we're happy to provide that. And then finally, the Grove House. Hopefully, if you didn't get a chance, you should definitely walk by sometime today. But it's a student-run kitchen, and they provide really yummy food. And I think it's a really favorite among students. So be sure to check that out too. Is that it? That's it for me.
Awesome. Thanks, Lexi. So our director, or who I should say Brad Tharp, who oversees career services, wasn't able to join us today, but I'm going to give a quick overview of this important aspect of the student experience as well, too. And so when we're thinking about career development at PITZER, it's really a sort of three-pronged system in terms of discover, explore, and achieve. We want students, we recognize there's such a wide range in terms of how students approach their career planning, not only while at PITZER, but looking ahead to their time beyond as well. You know, we have some students that have a very clear-cut plan. I'm going to major in this. This is the path. And it's very sort of linear and no sort of questions asked. But oftentimes for many of our students, they really want to take the time to explore and really sort of look across and really sort of experience different aspects of interest that they may have. Maybe during their time at PITZER, they've gotten involved with different student organizations that's increased their interest, and maybe have taken a course here at PITZER or across the 5 Cs that's really sort of piqued a new interest. And so we really take time to cultivate that experience, to have students discover their purpose. What are those sort of strengths and weaknesses along the way? And then really starting to explore and dive deeper into that. And then ultimately, really sort of bringing that together and tying it all together in terms of those skill sets, building networks, all of these sort of necessary opportunities to really sort of strengthen their path. So whether that's through internships, whether that's research, any of these sort of things, really to sort of guide them on that path as they look a little bit beyond their time at PITZER. So this happens in a number of ways. And we have a laundry list right here. So I'll just have you all sort of look at this really quickly and highlight a few of those. As I mentioned, when we're talking about career advising, so as you're starting to cultivate and think about your major and what that path may look like, you'll be able to get some of that individual career advising at any juncture. We really like to start to foster those relationships very early on in your first year because this is a critical partner. But we also recognize for some students that, that may not come on day one and it may take some time to get adjusted. And so whether it's your first day on campus or, for folks that may be a little more of a procrastinator later in their time, we're still going to make sure that those doors are open and able to advise along the way. So as you're thinking about internships and job search and really how to strategize or really sort of talk through those interviewing skills, there's a lot of that sort of support that's offered along the way. There are constant fellowship opportunities, graduate and professional school updates that are being sent out to our students on a daily basis almost, certainly on a weekly basis. Also, I would mention additionally that there may be, awesome opportunities that get on our radar as a result of our alums. And so we really want to make sure that we're building those relationships and strengthening that. So we have a really strong family and alumni office that really sort of works very closely hand in hand with student affairs for a number of events. And so, of course, we'll have those career fairs and those sort of things over the course of the semester and a year that are critical to building those one-on-one relationships. But certainly that's not our only source there. A job shadowing program is a big one as well for our students to really sort of do it experientially, right? It's one thing to sort of think about this on a broader level, but to really be immersed in those opportunities when we're talking about exploring, you're not going to get any more than that, right? And so some of these things maybe within the LA area, but certainly broader across. And more than anything, again, we want to cultivate our students with those necessary skills. And so, learning how to write an effective resume and cover letter, whatever is going to be eye-catching to really sort of get you into the door, so to speak. And again, I would mention that, with our staff, this is one of the unique advantages of being at PITZER is that one-on-one opportunity to really build relationships with our team. And so it's not uncommon to see even our staff in other capacities, whether students are serving on committees alongside with our career service team or other members of our student affairs team. But these are just many ways where it's not just in a very distinct way, but you may build relationships in many other ways as well. Just in terms of some of those benefits obviously we've talked a little bit about those job and internship postings. So we really want to make sure that folks have access to that. And so we have a portal that students are able to sort of access at any given time as they're starting to think more about, their career path, whether that's for an internship or afterwards. Already highlighted our career fairs, but it really sort of features a flavor of different types of industries, certainly the ones that are connected with many of our majors, but even beyond that as well too. And at any given time over the course of the year, we have employee visits. So they'll come down and do recruiting opportunities or just building some networking or coaching, those sort of things. We also do a lot of that stuff through Zoom as well, certainly in the times that we're living in. And we can't stress it enough, but the importance of those alumni connections, really strengthening those networks and paying it forward, so to speak. So I would really encourage folks, to dive in and check out our Instagram or even just email career services, to learn a little bit more, certainly explore our webpage as well too. But they're an awesome team that's always looking to sort of, again, help our students get ahead in a ultra competitive job market. So I wish they could be here. They're way more fun and exciting than me, but that's a quick overview, I would say, our career services. So I'll toss it over to Miriam at this time to talk about Pomona-PITZER athletics.
Okay. So I only have one slide, so I'm just going to do this from here. So one great thing is this building. So if you decide to come here, this building is yours. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second, but first I want to talk about what is really important for us to do kind of once you arrive, which is to move your body. There's tons of research about just the great effects of moving your body as it relates to mental health, academic performance, right? So I want to talk through the ways that you can kind of stay engaged in that way. So there's really kind of 4 ways. The first one is varsity athletics. So those are our student athletes that are recruited, and they compete against other institutions within our conference in Southern California, as well as nationally. So that is for somebody who is interested in practicing at least 5 days a week, competing, traveling, right, with a more of an intense kind of competition schedule. We did have 2 national champions in our fall semester. Thank you. We're hoping to bring 2 more. So it's really competitive, right? So maybe that's not for you, and that's all right. Our second opportunity is club sports. So club sports practices a couple of times a week, anything from surfing to ultimate frisbee to men's volleyball. And they may or may not have a coach. It might just be one person on campus who's decided to take that leadership role. But you still want to kind of compete. You still want to play other schools kind of in our area. You have that option. If that's too much for you, the third option is our intramurals. And that one is, there's no practice. You just go play, right? So maybe your suite mates or your floor decides to have a team and play basketball or whatever it is. So you just kind of go whenever it's time to play, and you play, right? So for those of you who are like, nah, I don't want any of that, the last option is certainly utilizing our spaces, which is the GSC, the Gold Student Center, as well as the new building that we'll have. So there's fitness equipment for you to stay engaged. We also have physical education classes. So let's say twice a week you want to do yoga, spin, step class. There's also a dance club class. Yeah. I guess you learn how to dance at a dance. I don't know. I'm interested to find out a little bit more about that class. But you have tons of options of what you can engage in as it relates to physical education. So those are kind of all the ways that you can continue to move your body. And again, if you don't hear anything else today, it's continue to move your body and get sleep. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about this building here because we are super excited about it. So we started construction in February, which allowed February of 2020. So students weren't here, so we were able to get kind of the loud stuff done. And we are set to open in fall of 22. So this is super exciting. So we have 2 gyms. One is on the first floor, the second other one is on the second floor. What is really amazing about the second floor gym is that it has a glass window that allows you to look at those snow-capped mountains. So it is a phenomenal view. We also have several classrooms. So for those, if a team wants to meet in there, we'll also have folks that will come in to talk about different ways to stay healthy and engaged, and those will happen in those spaces. Then we also have studio spaces for our, spin classes, for yoga classes, and all of those types of things. It is a really great space. So if you all are driving past 6th Street, you'll see it fenced off. It's going to be a phenomenal addition to our community, and super excited about that. So those are just some ways in which that you can kind of stay engaged in moving your body whenever you're here, because one thing that I'm really excited about is that our colleagues and us as a campus is really committed to the wellness and the holistic development of all of our students. So yes, we want you to thrive academically. We want you to thrive socially, physically, as well as mentally and socially, or spiritually, sorry. So I think that's one way that we really stay committed is in this building here. The last thing, if you have nothing to do later on today, our women's team is actually playing the school across the street. We don't talk about them. We do not name them. At 7 p.m. So you just follow the lights that are on. It's actually on the school across the street's campus. But it's going to be a good, you thought I was kidding. But it's going to be a big game for us. So if you are looking for something to do later on tonight, feel free to come cheer us on and our Pitzer student athletes as we take on in women's lacrosse, the school across the street.
Okay, so we have probably a little about close to 10 minutes and really want to open it up for any sort of specific questions that you may have. I really want to thank our panelists for giving a really sort of detailed overview of the student experience and student affairs. Again, I would also reemphasize we will be at the information fair as well, the resource fair. So if folks have even more questions or, it spans beyond this time, we really encourage you all to go over there. I'll also be sticking around later on for a session, a chat with the dean. So really to dive in deeper on some of the stuff that I referenced or other specific questions that folks may have. But at this time, we'd love to sort of open it up for any questions folks may have. Okay, I see one right here, so we'll start there. The gentleman right here with the plaid. Yes, you. Yes, sir. Yeah, so just right offhand, wow, I that's I might have to turn it over to some of my colleagues to also sort of reference that one. I would just say, in terms of some of the industries, you'll certainly see some of those bigger names, if you will, but I would also say we have quite a bit of entrepreneurs within our alumni network as well, too, that have started their own companies. And as well, I would say, considering our core values, oftentimes, our students will go sort of more humanities-based or like a sort of wide range of, opportunities within that company. But let me get a couple of folks up here to really sort of chime in. I say that mostly as still somewhat the new guy, and so don't want to sort of name off a company and not be as accurate as I would want to be.
And I would probably determine myself just as new. But I think one of the things that we might do, because I think that's a great addition to kind of what that office does. But just to hit the website, because our colleague Brad is not here to really talk about the specific companies, but certainly you can find that information there. Or reach out to our career services directly, and they can certainly give you a list.
Thanks, Mary. Yes.
It's long. You ready for it? It is the Center for Athletics, Recreation, and Wellness. We're figuring out an acronym or some name to call it, so if you got any ideas, let me know.
And then the second one is that you mentioned the student portal where students can look for their own students. Will students have access to the profile there, or that only if they go through
So again, there it is. The Residence Life website is where you apply for housing, and then once applications are closed, we'll open it back up so you can see anyone that also has a roommate profile live. So then you can sort by all your top features, saying I really want someone who's neat and tidy, who wakes up early. It'll show you all the profiles of those folks with no names, but then you can message them through the system and say, hey, I'm looking for a roommate, like let's chat. And you can, go on Instagram at that point or just stay right there in the chat in the platform and choose, or keep moving on and decide you don't want to choose. Lots of options. Yeah.
Yes. Talk about writing resources on campus. Sure.
Hi. So we have a writing center that is phenomenal. The students who are tutors for that go through a training session that's fairly intensive. Our writing center directors are very engaged with the community and trying to provide resources that work for the students at times that work. We have an online scheduling system they can apply, just put all of their information into. Like I said, I am married to someone who works at that the college across the street. And I have a daughter who went to Scripps. And really, I think ours is the best. We have a really great writing center. Students rave about it, and many of them use it for their full 4 years here.
Yeah, I would also add too that we have some of our faculty that are in residence as well too, and this is just another one of those ways where not only to increase their writing skills, but to build even more personal relationships with our faculty within the community. So they're able to interact within those resident halls. If there's more specific questions, certainly we always try to remind our students to be mindful of those boundaries and those sort of things. But there's a great balance of being able to access our faculty on a personal level as well too. And oftentimes, these are folks that they've already taken a class with or maybe want to take a class with. And so being able to have that added advantage as well to be able to have a conversation over breakfast or any of those sort of things. Just one of those added layers when we're thinking about a small, tight-knit community. Yes.
So course registration will be within that first week that you move onto campus. So right after your orientation adventure trip is when you'll meet with your advisor and then kind of figure out what classes you're going to register for. So it's within that first week.
Yes.
Less of a logistical question, just like for fun. Any of the panelists, what's like your favorite tradition at Pittsburgh that you enjoy?
Okay, I love the chickens. If you haven't seen the chicken coop, I love the chickens. My office is like on that side of campus, and so every day I walk by and visit the chickens. It's just one of my favorites.
And I'll say, because I work in the residence halls, I really love the student artwork around campus and our community artwork. We have a really great aesthetics committee on campus. That's part of our shared governance process. It's students, staff, and faculty. They review like tons of murals each year that folks are presenting to paint on our campus. And I just love how colorful it makes the campus. It definitely brings our core values to life as well. And I also, although it's a love kind of I'm scared relationship, but the Mead free wall as well, where any student can paint anything anytime, sometimes is amazing. I feel like it really gives us a good idea of what our student body is thinking and how folks are feeling, and they really express it there on the free wall.
Yeah, you stole my thunder with that one, Kirsten. I would certainly say the murals, but since that one was taken, I'm also really excited. I'm always excited to play basketball, and so we have a cool outdoor court. I'm usually playing with some students, giving them buckets. So if anyone wants a one-on-one with me, just know I'm a little older, but I can still take you. But yeah, I would also say, in addition to it, to the point that was raised earlier, when we're talking about dining, our dining here is pretty top notch. And it's one of those things that, for perspective, it isn't until you go to some of the other dinings that you're able to see there's a lot of intentionality that goes into that. But just some of even our food traditions as well, too. So.
And I'll just add, for me, it's rivalry week. That's such a mouthful to say. So this past fall, right before the game against the school across the street, we were in the back. We had food, we had games, the bookstore was out there, and just a chance to kind of get out, be community, have fun. And then we walked down to the game together. So that is certainly a fun experience for me, and in a way that we get to see kind of everybody come out and really just kind of connect and celebrate and support athletics.
Great question. Yes.
Good question. So yes, there is a 5C dance team. if you are interested in cheering, and when you come here, come see me, right? Like, I think that would be something we would love to start. So the answer is no, not right now, but when you come, we will start it.
Yeah, and I would piggyback that, whether it's with, dance or other interests or organizations, we're always encouraging folks to consider starting a new tradition or a club here. And oftentimes, once one person gets that going, you'll see that there's a shared interest amongst the student body as well, too. So, but I do want to be mindful of time. We're at 1 minute, so we'll probably have time for one last question. I saw your hand go up, and then we'll transition. Yeah. Typically that starts, probably in the next month. So like once we've fully solidified the class, that's when we really start to shift more into that community focus. So I would say, we're really sort of on the cusp of that right now. So hoping we can sell some folks and really, as you're hearing more about the experience, really highly consider coming here. And I would say certainly once May starts and we really start to solidify that class, that's when all of that really starts to go into motion. Awesome. So I would just say again, for folks that have more questions that weren't able to be answered, encourage you to check out the resource fair or come back and have a chat with the dean as well. Thank you.